Hi, I'm Charley Martinez, and for this Meat Market Minute, we have Dr. Justin Benavidez, who's with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. He's going to be talking about lamb in the lamb market. Justin?
Thanks, Charlie. So, as Charlie said, we're going to go ahead and just dive in and talk about kind of what's going on in the lamb market. It's an interesting little market. I've done my part for this year. On average, the U.S. consumer eats between a half a pound and a pound of lamb meat. So I've done my part here recently. I'm out here in Amarillo, Texas, and West Texas A&M's in Canyon, and a good friend of mine is a meat scientist down there, and they had some lamb that they were trying to sell. So I ran down and bought some lamb, and it was a nice bone-in leg. So that's what you're seeing here with the rub on the right-hand side of the screen. So had a nice little mustard rub with some herbs in it. Came out pretty good. I smoked it like a brisket. Really enjoyed it. Just kind of sliced off some pieces, and it turned out really good. Froze a little bit, and I really enjoyed it. And then when I got here on the left-hand side, I had a really cool opportunity to go to the Middle East this last fall, and had a lot of falafel and then shawarma. So basically, that shawarma stuff is what you typically see a gyro at a Greek restaurant where they're just slicing meat off of a big rotating skewer. This is the Middle Eastern version of it, and it was really tasty. I really enjoyed it. So some of that lamb I had saved off of the leg and sliced it down and made some shawarma. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. So I think I've eaten well over a pound of this year, so I'm beating the average, but pretty good little versatile product. And I've said a couple times, if lamb is prepared really well, I really do enjoy it. And I know some people don't really like it, but there's a lot of cool ways to prepare it, and you can find a lot of ways to add flavor and make it taste really good. So I think it's worth exploring a little bit if you have the opportunity. We'll go ahead and dive on into some of the marketing stuff. On the retail market reports at the moment, it looks like, particularly for the rack of lamb, prices are down quite a bit. We've gone from about $15 at this time last year to about $10 a pound this year. Most of the other cuts on the lamb side are about the same price that they were last year, or a little bit lower, if anything. But in particular, those racks have decreased quite a bit. So in addition, those feature rates at the supermarket have kind of gone up quite a bit over the last 2 weeks. So they're featuring a lot more lamb products in the last week or two compared to where they were around Memorial Day. And I think that's really in an effort to move some lamb. And we'll talk about why they've got a little bit of excess lamb built up, I think, potentially. So what we're seeing here is, you can see that on lamb and yearling lamb slaughter, they suffered some of the same production issues that a lot of the other, beef and pork faced, with having to slow down some production. But in reality, they recovered a lot more quickly to previous year levels than some of our other production has recovered. And so that's been an interesting little trend to watch. I think we could get a really interesting example of the marketing hole. I know everyone on this call has probably heard us talk about the beef marketing hole and how that's going to play out in the future. And I think this lamb market could be an interesting template to look at that, because we've kind of recovered. And I think that right now we're kind of trying to get through some of this excess supply of lamb that has been held over from peak market period into now a period where we traditionally don't see as much lamb consumed. So like I said, the volume of production did not really suffer for as long as some of our other meats did. Although you can see it was a really significant drop. We went from, in 2019, we were somewhere in the neighborhood of processing 45,000 head through April every week, and we're down to 28,000 head. But we've rebounded now, and into early May, we were processing about the same number of head as we did in 2019. But this chart is really interesting on the cold storage side for lamb and mutton. You can see that it was a really flat trend through, March and into April. And I think that's going to be, as David mentioned on our last call for Meat Market Minutes, a lot of this lamb is consumed around holidays, including Easter, Passover, Ramadan. That holiday falls in the spring as well. A lot of our lamb consumption happens during those holidays. And we were in a period where that restaurant activity for lamb consumption didn't really occur. So I think we had some lamb buildup in cold storage. And then as we are now trying to liquidate some of that lamb in cold storage, as well as reaching standard production levels for lamb, as you saw in that previous chart, probably have a little bit of excess lamb available at the grocery store. And that's why we're seeing it featured more. So if they're, again, as I said earlier, I think lamb's a pretty interesting and versatile cut to try. So if you're interested in trying maybe a rack of lamb for the first time, this would be a good week to go and see if there's any available at your grocery store as it's being featured nationwide. So interesting dynamics in the market. And I think, looking forward, we're not really going to see typically the seasonality of lamb peaks again in those spring holidays, Easter, Passover, Ramadan, and then we'll see it begin to increase again towards the fall when we start seeing consumption of lamb for, some people for different New Years. So the Jewish New Year, the Islamic New Year, as well as Thanksgiving and Christmas. A lot of people choosing to eat lamb there at Christmas. So we're probably at the low part of the market for a lot of lamb throughout the summer. We'll hopefully see that price. Hopefully for a producer, you would see that price increase as we go back towards the fall and those prices hit back in the normal seasonality trends. But overall, that's kind of what's happening in the lamb market. Again, I think a lot of the dynamics are going to be interesting to watch, mostly because I think we could really see a template for this kind of beef marketing hole that we are forecasting for beef. We could see how that plays out in the lamb market, maybe translate to see how some of those impacts carry through. It's obviously not going to be exactly the same. We process a lot fewer lambs, and there's a lot more dynamic seasonality that's really significant in the lamb market than maybe we see in the beef market, just because it's a really holiday specific and very individual period of consumption for lamb. But still, I think there's some interesting opportunity for study there. So that's what I got on the lamb market. Thank you all for letting me be here and talk to y'all about it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No hard ones, please.
I thought that was a great looking picture of that leg of lamb.
It was pretty tasty. I enjoyed it.
JB, you think, obviously, being able to make it and prepare lamb is kind of different than most, or is not common. It's not commonly used or consumed by consumers, and trying to understand how to prepare it could be some issues also. Do you think moving forward that maybe people will start trying it because, it's kind of a cheaper meat protein, or do you foresee, demand changing at all, if not if any?
I don't know. It's still a pretty niche product, or niche, however you want to say that. But it's
depends where you're at.
I guess it's where, out here in Amarillo, it's niche. It's a niche product. So I think I don't know if I foresee a whole lot of change in overall lamb consumption. One thing that the pork market really did was they worked on education on how to prepare those cuts and kind of translating pork cuts into a more beef-centric designation, so people kind of knew what the purpose of that cut was and how to prepare it and maybe some ways to eat it. I think maybe the lamb market could benefit from more educational efforts in that area of, this is how you prepare it, of good ways to eat it. But it's a really niche product, and we also don't have as much volume of it to consume, so there's a bit of balance there. But this is a good opportunity to try it, in my opinion, if you are interested in it, because particularly that rack is, the price has been cut by a third.
I'd really suggest people go check out the Lamb Board. That's the Lamb Checkoff folks who do advertising. It's producer funded to fund advertising of lamb. They do some really great work in terms of recipes, how to prepare different cuts, different uses of them. And if you've never tried it before, I'd really go check those guys out because I think they do some really great recipes, and there's a lot of help available from the Lamb Board, really featuring American lamb, U.S. lamb, but really I think it gives you some real good tips to try. One of the things that is a struggle is that we do, prices are higher for lamb than other meats. And so as we think about, recession and things like that, it does struggle because it is a more expensive cut. But still, if you're looking for some variety and you want to try something new, I think there's some really neat opportunities, some great recipes out there. And as you showed, Justin, with your leg of lamb on the smoker, it can be a pretty versatile thing too. And really try something new and get out there. And I think there's plenty of help out there from the Lamb Board to help you get started.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed eating lamb. I've had it prepared a couple different ways, and a good rack of lamb is it's a treat. I really enjoy it. So that's what I've got.
Awesome. Well, thank you to the viewers for watching this episode, and we hope you found it enjoyable. And be sure to look at the other ones that we've put together. Thank you.